think we're in the midst of probably the single biggest money grab that our region has ever seen. And it centers around the issue of homelessness and housing. And I have said repeatedly that the homeless crisis is not a housing crisis. And I even hate calling it the homeless crisis, but I do it just for convenience. It's a drug crisis. And as a result, it's a crime crisis. It's a mental health crisis. As a result, it's a crime crisis. And no, I'm not saying that every person who is on drugs or every person who's mentally ill is a criminal. Of course, I'm not saying that. But we know that there is a nexus between drug use and an inability to control your emotions and your behavior that can lead to crime. So it has me incredibly worried that we now have all these politicians pushing these very expensive proposals that are really specific to housing. We know Governor Jay Inslee, his 2023 to 2025 budget proposal includes $4 billion, the bulk of which is for affordable housing. And I talked to the governor about this when I was filling in on Cairo Radio, like back in November. I talked to him about it, and I told him, I said, it scares the hell out of me that you think that we're in a housing, or that spending $4 billion on a housing crisis would somehow solve the homelessness crisis. And on the show the other day, I was talking about how, the governor, he went on this dog and pony show touring a homeless encampment in Seattle. I've been covering politics in Seattle for 13 years. I've never seen the governor touring a homeless encampment, calling it a scourge on society. And then there was some in the media just eating it up, and I was so disappointed. And so when you have someone like the governor who has presided over the homelessness crisis, it's gotten much worse under his watch. And now he's like, just give me $4 billion to spend on housing and I'll fix it. No trust there. And then you had King County Executive Dow Constantine, who wants, now I will say, this might be the only positive thing I ever say about Dow Constantine. So I want you to note this moment in time. It's 12:11 p.m. on April 3rd. Dow Constantine's proposal is $1.25 billion for mental health services and facilities. That's at least focused in the direction that we need it focused in, and not housing specifically. But then you have the King County Regional Homelessness Authority, where they want an increase in their budget of $12 billion. What have they done so far as a homelessness authority? Even the mayor of Seattle had said that he wasn't thrilled with their performance thus far. And by the way, $12 billion would be 10 times their current operating budget, 10 times. For what? What have you shown us? So now just the latest, and I mentioned Bruce Harrell. So this is from the Center Square. Bruce Harrell has proposed a $970 million housing levy to build 3,000 affordable units. This could, according to the Center Square, it's a 7-year property tax. It would have a rate of 45 cents per $1,000 of assessed value. So for a median Seattle homeowner, that'd be like $380 a year on average of an increase. So, in a county where you're already just taxed to high heaven for property, and now you have the mayor coming out in Seattle, and where they're also obviously taxed to high heaven, saying we need this additional money, $970 million for housing. Now, I understand that in this proposal, he is talking in part about workforce housing, which I believe is an issue. I believe it's a crisis. I think that if you are in a household and you're working 2 jobs, you ought to be able to afford a place to live here. I do think housing is too expensive, and I'm not trying to argue with that. The issue that I take is when you mush it together with the homeless crisis. And if Seattle's mayor believes that spending $970 million on 3,000 affordable housing units is going to do anything at all to lessen the crisis that's playing out on our streets, he's just wrong. And so again, when I say that we're in the midst of one of the most unprecedented money grabs, all of this is happening, all these proposals in the last few months, $4 billion that the governor wants for housing, $970 million that Seattle's mayor wants, $1.25 billion for King County Executive Dow Constantine. Bless your heart if you live in Seattle and King County, although Seattleites have voted for a lot of this on their own. And then the Regional Homelessness Authority, which was billed as the end-all be-all for our homelessness crisis, that they were going to have a regional approach and things were going to get done. They want a 10 times increase, tenfold increase in their operating budget. None of these entities have proven capable of using the money that they already have to effect. I mean, when you really think about that, why would you trust the people who put us in this situation to get us out of this situation? We're already spending billions on the homelessness issue. If you can spend a couple years showing us real, steady results, more people off the streets, fewer people in the throes of a mental health crisis, a substance abuse crisis, you already have billions of dollars. Show us, for once, that you can use that money to good effect, and then come back and say, hey, look at what we've done. We have something to show you. We know this works. Now let's throw money at it. I would be all on board with that. I'm not about never spend money ever, never raise taxes ever, but we do an awful lot of raising taxes in this state for things that we know are going to be throwing our money down the drain.